This video is about nested if-else statements and different patterns that come up when we program with if-else statements. Let's take a look at a program to start this video. This program prompts the user to type in a percentage of points earned in a course, and then based on that percentage, it prints out the letter grade that the student earned in the course. So you see here that we start with a scanner. We prompt the user for what percentage was earned. That gets stored as this variable percent. And the logic we've written here says, if the percent is above 90, we'll print A, and 80 will print B, and so forth, all the way down to less than 60, earning an F. And we just have this one last print statement. Thanks for using this program. If we run this thing, you'll find that it actually produces some strange output. If I say that I got a 76%, it says I got a C and a D, and then thanks for using the program. That's a strange output. If I run it again and I say that I got a 94, it says I got an A, B, C, and a D, and then thanks for using the program. So that may not have been the result that you expected. It looks like these different ranges are separate from each other. So the problem is that we've actually used the wrong style of if programming to write this code here. The style that we've used is something called a sequential if-else statement. And so there are only ifs here. There are 5 of them. There's an if for the A, B, C, D, and F case. The way that this is interpreted by Java is that these tests are all executed independently. So Java executes the first test, and if it passes, it'll run those statements. Then once it's done with that, it'll execute the second test. If that's true, it'll execute the second group of statements. Then when it's done with that, it'll do the third one and possibly execute all 3. So potentially all 3 of these groups of statements could get run, depending on whether these 3 tests here are true. 1 of them could get executed, 2 of them, none of them. So really, any combination of these different paths could or could not be taken by this code here. And in fact, if you look at the code that we've written, if you have a percentage value here of, say, 86, then when the computer reaches this line, that's not greater than or equal to 90, so the if will be skipped. But now here, it is greater than or equal to 80, so it'll print this B message. Then when it's done doing that, it'll get here, and 86 is also greater than or equal to 70, so it'll print this message, which we didn't want. The same thing here, 86 is greater than or equal to 60, so it'll print this message, which we also don't want. This last one here it won't print because 86 is not less than 60. But this isn't the logic we want in this program. We'd really like to only choose the one path. Really, you should only print one of these 5 messages, no matter what the person's percent is. So if that's what we're interested in, we want something called a nested if-else statement. Nested if-else statement is a set of mutually exclusive tests that are related to each other. The implication being that you would only execute one of the groups of statements. When Java is executing this piece of code here, it executes the first test. If that test is true, it executes the first group of statements and then bails out and doesn't check any of the other tests. If that first test is false, then it falls through and executes the second test. If that one's true, it executes the second group of statements and then exits out. If the second test is also false, we fall through to the third test, or excuse me, the third group in this case doesn't have a test, it just ends with else. And so that means the third one will be executed for sure if the first 2 tests fail. So if you look at this diagram over here on the right that sort of shows the flow of this code, it does the first test, might go through that. If it doesn't do that successfully, then it tries the second test. That might cause it to run this code. If that one fails, it ends up at the third group of statements. But you'll notice from the diagram, it always executes exactly one of the 3 statement blocks, never more than one, and it's never going to skip all of them. So actually, that's the pattern of code that we would really like to use in this program, this grade program here. Really what we'd like to say is, if the grade isn't above 90, but it is above 80, we want to print this B message. So we'd like to say else if the percentage is above 80, else if the percentage is above 70, and so on. So we'd like to link all these tests together with else statements. And now the code will correctly only execute one of these 5 branches. If I compile it again and run it, Now if I type in that we got a 94, it says you got an A. If we type you got a 76, it prints you got a C, and so forth. If we run through this code real quickly in the debugger, you'll see that if I set a breakpoint on that line there, I'll type in that we got a 76. Now I'll step through this code. First it checks, is the percent greater than or equal to 90? Well, 76 is not. So it jumps to the second test. Is it greater than or equal to 80? No, it's not. Checks the third test. Is it greater than or equal to 70? Yes. So it prints that we got a C. And now that it's done printing that, it bails out of the entire nested if-else block of statements and goes to the next thing after that in the program, which is that final "thanks for using this program" message. There's one more thing that I think we could improve about this program. Actually, it shouldn't have this final closing if statement here. We don't actually need to say that, because if all of these other tests have been false, then the only possible remaining outcome is that the percentage is less than 60. So we actually don't need to test whether it's less than 60. It must be, otherwise it would have gone into this fourth case of our nested if-else statement right here. So this is an example of a nested if-else statement that ends with else. It's also possible to have a nested if-else statement that ends with if. This one here. In fact, that's what we had just a moment ago in our code, but it wasn't really the right pattern to solve that problem. The difference in this version from the previous version is that this one might not execute any of the code paths. So we check the first test if possible. If that one passes, we go to the first group of statements. Then if it's not passing, we go to the second test. If that one's true, we execute the second group of statements. If not, we go to the third test. If that test is true, we execute the third group of statements. If that third and final test is false, we actually bail out without executing any of the groups of statements. So you'll execute either 0 or 1 paths using this style of code. So to show you another example of a program where it's important to choose the right if-else structure, let's look at this bonus program here. This program prompts the user for how much money they earned as an integer. And if they made more than $10 here, we're going to tax them $10 and print out a taxation message here. If they made less than $10, we're going to give them a little bonus, give them an extra $10. If they made exactly 10, we're not going to give them any bonus or tax them. It's a pretty silly artificial example, but those are the three possible choices. So right now we've written this program to have two if statements. If the money's large, tax them. If the money's small, give them the bonus. And then when we're done, we'll print the final amount of money that they've earned. So can you see the flaw in the logic of this program? It actually doesn't produce the right output in certain cases. Well, let's run it and see what's the problem with this code here. So I'll compile it and run it. How much money did we earn? Well, if I type in $35, it seems to have taxed me $10 and we earned $25. Okay, that looks right. I'll run it again. Let's say that we earned $3. We got a bonus of 10, so it boosted us up to 13. That looks right. So those values seem to be okay. What about if we earn $17? Program does something wrong here. It says we were taxed $10 and we got a bonus of 10, so we ended back with 17 where we started. So the problem here is that the program is executing both of these paths. It says, well, our money is large, so let's tax the person. So that removes 17 down to $7. And now when we get to here, it says, well, let's also execute this piece of code. So is the new $7 less than 10? Yes, it is. So we add 10 back into it, and so we get a bonus as well, and we end up with the same $17 that we started with. So that's no good. And so again, in this case, this program is much more correct if we introduce an else statement here, so that way, if we compile and run this thing, it should now give us a tax of 10 and leave us with $7. That's what the program was supposed to do. Now, this program illustrates a key difference between the else if and the else. In the grades program that we just did, we deleted the final else if. We didn't need it. But in this bonus program, the else if actually is pretty important. So if I deleted that and just said else there, the problem would be the $10 case. If I earn $10, this program is giving us a bonus, but the program's actually supposed to do nothing. So if I put that back and compile it and run it again, and I'll type in $10, it neither gives me a bonus nor a tax. So just to prove that the original if statement, the one that looks like this that we started with, is not always the wrong choice. You know, you might be getting that impression from the examples that we're looking at here, because all of the programs we've seen so far, they are better done with else if rather than just a group of if statements. But that doesn't mean that if is always the wrong choice. Here's a program, a third program, that asks the user for a GPA, assumes that the user is a student in the university. And after typing in the GPA, the program will say if your GPA is above 3.5, then you need to make it to the honor roll. And if your GPA is above 3.8, then you've made it onto the dean's list. Now, the problem with the logic of this program is that you should be able to be on both lists. So if you're on the dean's list, your GPA is also high enough that you should be on the honor roll as well. So what the program actually does, if I compile the program and run it, if I type in a GPA like 3.8, it says I'm on the honor roll. I think I meant to type 3.9 here, 3.9. See, now do you see the bug that we have here? We're supposed to be on the dean's list for a 3.9, but instead we're getting onto the honor roll. Because what's happening here is that the program gets to this line of code and the GPA of 3.9 is above 3.5, and so it goes in and executes this one, and then it exits out of the nested if else block. But we still want it to perform this test and run this println statement here about making the dean's list. So this program, we actually do want the sequential if that we've been demonizing in a couple of those other examples. So if I say my GPA is 3.6, oops, I meant to say 3.6. Let me try that again. 3.6, I make the honor roll. If I have a 3.9, I make both the honor roll and the dean's list. And if I get something like 2.4, I'm on neither of the lists. So this diagram summarizes the different choices here. If you want exactly one of the paths to be executed, you pick the nested if ending in else. If you want to pick 0 or 1 of the paths, possibly skipping all of them, that's what we did in the Dean's List program, then you want a nested if else ending with an if. And lastly, if you want 0, 1, or many paths, excuse me, I think I misspoke a second ago. If you want 0 or 1 paths, you do this else if version here. And if you want 0, 1, or many paths like we did in the honor roll Dean's List program, you just use a series of sequential ifs.